So I just want to acknowledge that Anne is no longer in the meeting room, and we're going to continue on. Question number 4. This is a question about education as a civil rights issue in the 21st century. Some of our authors have written that education is a civil rights issue in the 21st century, and that this is evident in the underrepresentation of certain student groups: African American, Black, Latino, students with disabilities, English learners, etc., in the district's selective enrollment high schools. For example, admissions-based high school like Lowell High School and Ruth Asawa School for the Arts, and other specialty programs. As a board member, what will you do to increase representation of historically underserved and underrepresented youth in these programs and ensure they experience success? So the order is Virginia, Min, and then Lefteris. Go ahead, Virginia.
Thank you for this question. So one of the projects I was proud to work on at WUYI was an early educator workforce pipeline project. One of the issues for our Black, African American, and Latinx students was lack of cultural competency, lack of folks who could speak Spanish and see representation, see themselves represented in leadership. And so I was very proud to work on developing an entire early educator pipeline, partnering with higher institutions to recruit parents to become teachers themselves so that the kids could see themselves represented in the classrooms. We also worked to recruit Black, African American, Latinx small business owners, family childcare small business owners, so that there were more options for those families. And many of those families that were left on the wait list, it was because they couldn't find a program that where they felt they were culturally represented. And so I've been working on building more infrastructure of representation for our kiddos in the first 5 years, but also I think we need to do that for the K through 12 as well, making sure that we support aspiring educators, but also supporting existing educators in their professional development, and making sure that our youth feel seen and represented, and providing the supports that they need in order to succeed at every step of their educational experience.
I want to answer this question a little bit differently, but I promise it'll be relevant, which is from a work perspective. I mentioned earlier that I'm a CEO. The company that I'm a CEO for, we actually serve the most vulnerable here in San Francisco. Vulnerability in our definition is low income, also very heavily sort of medically diagnosed folks and people who are underserved. So I often say that, you know, here we serve the people that probably nobody else wants to take care of from a home care perspective, but we do. That's the mission that we do here, and it's really important. On the opposite end, which is we hire a lot of caregivers. So my business is home care. We hire a lot of caregivers also that really need to have a professional job. And English is oftentimes the only barrier for entering the marketplace. And so for us, we actually recruit through a program that we call VESSEL, which is Vocational English as a Second Language. And it's really important because we've actually tapped into something that's really interesting, because there's a shortage of caregivers, but through VESSEL, we're actually targeting immigrants and bringing immigrants into the workforce. And it's really important to have that representation as well. So it's I guess I wanted to share both of the examples to say that from a school system perspective, we do need to kind of think about, right, making sure that the most underserved, the most vulnerable groups are actually taken care of, because I'm a big believer that when you do all that, it actually pays back in dividends, right, in terms of really building up our economy here in the city, making sure, I think one of the other candidates said that from a homeless perspective, right, as we target, as we think about our young people, and if we do actually produce wonderful young people at the end of the day, it's actually going to help our city in many, many folds. And that's how I feel about my business as well. If we can address and keep people from being homeless, if we take care of them in their home, if we actually take care of the most underserved groups in San Francisco, by default, it's going to help everybody. And that's what we do as from an organizational perspective.
I think, if there's a will, there's a way. Min's obviously figured that out with her role there at her healthcare organization. So we just have to do the same with the public schools. If a child, let's say, lives near a certain school, they're close by, they want to attend it, regardless of that child's circumstances, we need to work with the administrators there to make sure they can apply and have a seat there. I think we spent a lot of time kind of grouping kids and saying, okay, this group of kids belongs here, this group of kids belongs there. In my school, we had mixed ages in one classroom. Kids, as young as 5 and 6 in the same classroom with teenagers, and it worked out beautifully. There's such a harmony with children. They don't have like a lot of preconceived notions. They don't look at the color of your skin as much as they just they're just curious. And I think as adults, we have a lot to learn from children. And that I certainly learned a lot having my school. So giving them just the opportunity to do what they want, to go where they want, I think is how we solve this problem. Thank you.